there and taps his hands, and you're just sitting there, and he, sits there and rocks back and forth in the chair, like a big old another murderer or whatever he is, convicted. Up to this point of a case, not in handcuffs, not in shackles, one or the other, or both, and in orange.
Everybody, Excited Utterance here. My name's Hella, and today we are going to be going over some recent developments in the Kohberger case. Actually, not recent developments in the court filings or anything like that. Some stupidity that's been happening out in the media circus that's usually following the Bryan Kohberger case around. And I usually don't comment on this stuff, but I can't help it because it's so stupid, so ridiculous, and I have a feeling that there's something more to it. There's something more brewing, like a witch's stew. Yes, I think there are more bad actors than there seems to be getting about, and I maybe it's just the cynic in me, but I'm a little bit jaded having watched these things played out a few times now in other cases. So I have a feeling that there's something more to this. I just want to give you my thoughts on it. And I've prepared a little bit of a slideshow today to keep me on track, because otherwise I'll just blur on. Hi everyone. I know that everyone's glued to Karen Reid at the moment. I even posted, this is not a Karen Reid stream. It's not. So let's just stay focused, shall we? Hey, Half Irish, good to see you. Yes, we have a super chat challenge, and at the end of 5 super chats, I will ban Mavka. He's not even here, but if he turns up, regardless, I can ban him anyway. He doesn't have to be here. I can still ban him. Hey, Spicy Hot Pocket. Hey, CC girl, how are you? Yeah, poor Mavka. Nah, he deserves it. You told him? He'll turn up now. You'll see. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. So let's get into it. Now, you may have heard some reports that there's a motive. Prosecutors now have a motive for Bryan Kohberger to go into a house full of people he's never met, that he's never had any contact with, and at 4 a.m. in the morning, go up to this house, and it just so happens to have a sliding door that's unlocked, stabby up 4 people who just happen to be like unconscious, like asleep and drunk, so they can't fight back, even though they're in their early 20s and fully fit, and do it within a period of like under 10 minutes, leave no trace of his hair, anything of him other than Oh, let's just don't forget he dropped the knife sheath, and the only thing on the knife sheath was like like a teensy weensy little bit of his skin cells underneath the snap, right? But nothing else of himself. No bloody footprints, no drag marks, nothing. And then he also managed to not bring any of their blood, any of their skin, hair, anything into his car, out on the street, into his apartment. He brought no clothes that need to be disposed of. If he did, he's a goddamn magician, right? So hang on. He did all that, and now apparently prosecutors have found a motive for that. Oh, and by the way, this whole idea of him, because he's a criminology major, right? So apparently, like, there's been this thought along the way that he might have wanted to commit the perfect crime, right? But also he drove his own damn car there. And most recently, they reckon that he bought a knife on Amazon. Yeah, so he bought the murder weapon on Amazon. Yeah, perfect crime. Oh, and dropped the sheath. Perfect crime, right? Okay, so none of this stuff really adds up. But still, even with none of that stuff adding up, you don't need a motive in court. Motive's really nice, though, right? Motive really helps, especially considering that he's got no prior criminal history, especially no violent history. And this is a pretty big jump to go from nothing to stabbing up 4 people brutally in the middle of the night, doing it so quickly and getting out of there, leaving just no trace. Okay, so along comes an author called Howard Goddamn Blum, right? And I haven't been commenting on him because I don't like giving these people oxygen. But he's written this stupid book called When the Night Comes Falling. And I don't know why people give people like this attention, right? But he's written this stupid book, and Nancy Goddamn Grace gets him onto her show and says, "The best book, I couldn't put it down," right? And then like Court TV brings him on, and News Nation brings him on, because they love him because he's got all these theories about why Bryan Kohberger is definitely got a depraved mind, and how he had all these thought patterns prior, and how his family is complicit. Like, they knew as soon as he was arrested, they knew, right? And that's why his dad drove across the country to come and get him, because they knew that they'd heard these reports of this stabbing, and they knew in their heart that it was him, right? And he's written this goddamn book about it. He knows nothing, this man, right? And it is fiction. Okay, so he's also got this blog called Airmail, and on the blog he continues to write more fiction about this. I'm sure he's planning another book, right? He continues to write more fiction, and his most recent blog post was about his idea of what the motive is. And of course, all of these like true crimey kind of guilter news outlets, like your Nancy Graces and your News Nations, they hang on his every word, because they give them new, like, clickbait news articles, I suppose, to go with, rather than actually read through the court documents and come up with real facts to report. They go with Howard Blum's like theories. Yeah. So the most recent one is, get this, and hey guys, new guys coming in, I'll have a chat to you in a sec. So the most recent one is this. So what do you do when you don't have a motive, right? What do? Yeah. You make one up. And there's Howard Blum. Like, he's like, I just made one up, right? I made one up. Okay, so his theory is Bryan Kohberger wanted to impress his former professor by committing the perfect crime. He wanted to impress his former professor, right? So you've probably heard this if you've been following at all, right? Like, what ridiculousness is this? Thinking he'd, yeah, hey, Mavka, thinking he'd get extra credit. Yeah. Well, maybe, but he wasn't even at that university anymore. This is from DeSales University in Pennsylvania. So he'd already moved, right? So he was across the country. So it's his former professor. It's not even his current professor. Hey, Kat. So at the home stretch, it appears the state is gaslighting the families into finding the living roommates are uninvolved. Oh, we'll talk about the roommates in a minute. Yeah, I love that for Howie. God. Was reading the docs the other day, getting riled up by Hitler. Oh dear. Hitler, all those most recent docs, he's just arguing the state's case. It's so silly. Suffer Mavka, yeah. Hello, Eric Synchrona. How are you? Your Grandmaster Mage, are you? Hey, Tracy Burton, how are you? Hey, woman, how are you, mate? Good to see ya. Yeah, Mavka, we have a super chat challenge. We're going to ban you after 5 super chats. So anyone who wants Mavka banned, just start the super chats rolling. Look, I've never liked Banfield. I don't know how anyone can stand this woman. She's just infuriating. Narcissist. Hey, Schnibbles. Okay. Oh, yeah. And so the other thing is, yeah, I think I saw Gonsalves on YouTube the other day, but I'm blanking when or what stream. Okay, so he was on the Drunk Turkey show, which I don't watch. But so Steve Gonsalves, he is the one and only sort of voice for all the victims. And I don't like talking about him and his wife because they talk a lot. They give a lot of misinformation out, and yeah, I have a big problem with them, and a lot of people do. Almost as much misinformation as Howard Blum. But you know, they're parents of one of the victims, so it's the minute that you start saying that they're giving out misinformation, people are like, oh, you're victim blaming. But unfortunately, they are giving out misinformation. It's true. Okay. Oh, hey, Diane, how are you? Not necessarily the thing about punches to the face, Kat. So he talked about punches to the face, and that was to his daughter. He paid for access to his own autopsy, independent autopsy, for his daughter Kaylee. So he has more information about the injuries to his daughter than anybody else does. So he knows some things that we don't. and he's spoken about them publicly. So he may know that. So he thinks that Kaylee was the target, but we don't know that. We don't know what the injuries to the other victims were. Some people think that Ethan was the target based on reasons, messages, stuff like that. So anyway. So we have one. Hey, Schnivel started it. $5, Mavka. Thank you for that. Hey, Ariel, how are you? Hello, have you read Bloom? He's great. Yeah, wrong Bloom. Wrong Bloom. Okay. Turns out it was stab wounds. Yeah. All right. I've heard it was Maddie too. Oh, Snibbles with another $5. Mavka, watch out. He's coming for you. Okay. Now, so the theory was Bryan Kohberger wanted to impress his former professor by committing the perfect crime. How fucking stupid is that? How stupid is that? Right? This is the dumbest thing ever. So, and this is on his blog. His blog is called Airmail or something. In Cold Blood, The Eyes of a Killer, Part 9. Is that in Roman numerals? Is that Part 9? More than 2 years after the murder of 4 University of Idaho students, prosecutors are ready to offer a motive. Now, I underline that, right? He said prosecutors are ready. That's a lie. Prosecutors aren't ready to offer a motive. He made that up. An Airmail exclusive by Howard Blum. Photo illustration by Chop Choppy Shop. What the fuck? Just what? Okay, so share this tab. So this is the actual like blog post, and I am not signing in to read the whole goddamn thing. I'm not paying him any money. Oh dear. Hey, CT girl, thank you for the $9.99 super chat. Thank you for all you do. Heart, heart, heart. Oh dear, and Dali, justice for Mavka. Well, you gotta get him banned. Thank you. Another $5 from Shivels. Is that right? How many do we have now? Have we reached our goal? Oh. Oh, Mavka. We have. Oh, Mavka. Oh, no. Oh, no. I might have to put you in timeout for the day. Oh, banning Mavka. Oh, well. Thank you, guys. I love it. Wow, I have to do that more often. Suffer Mavka. That was brilliant. Okay. Moving on. Gee. One time, I know, I was there when you timed out, DB. Thought you'd only do 60 seconds. No, I did. Well, I said ban, didn't I? So, and like, he's a big boy. Oh, he's got another account. Oh, good. Well, I'll start a new goal. Awesome. I miss Mavka already. I'm sure he's listening. Okay, so he said prosecutors are ready to offer a motive. What absolute crap. All right. And yeah, look at the hang on. Oh, we're back to this. Yeah. The illustration was pretty like bloody and ghastly. Okay, so moving on. So as per usual, fact-based News Nation were on the story And look at Ashley's neck. With Bryan Kohberger's trial approaching, journalist Howard Blum says prosecutors may argue Kohberger committed the murders to impress his former professor, renowned forensic psychologist Dr. Katherine Ramsland. Bryan Anton has the latest. Okay, let's have.
With Kohberger's trial just 3 months away, there is one reporter who says he thinks he knows what prosecutors are planning to present in the way of motive. His name is Howard Blum, and his article appears in an online newsletter called Airmail. In it, Blum suggests that prosecutors think Kohberger went to monstrous and unthinkable extremes to impress a woman. And not just any woman, a woman you have seen on this program many times, Katherine Ramsland. Talk to me about how Dr. Ramsland is responding to Howard Blum's report.
Yeah, actually, we really have to be careful with some of these reports as we get closer to the trial, because Dr. Ramsland is saying that most of what is in this new report is just flat out not true. She says, I had no email correspondence with Bryan Kohberger while he was at WSU. So that right there, I mean, the article said she did. She says flat out no email correspondence with Bryan Kohberger while he was at WSU. He has not been in touch with me since his arrest. I called his parents as a gesture of kindness, but I do not advise them about the case.
Okay, so that was a little bit later, right? But like this early part here, so that was added, right? So that part about Ramsland's response, that was added, okay? But this early part with the whole wanting to impress a woman and a woman that we know, and that she's renowned, etc., that's all stuff that was put out by News Nation as like a clickbaity kind of piece, right? So, and you're not surprised by that, right? Like that's the kind of thing that News Nation puts out. Hang on a second. How do I get rid of that? Exit full screen. Escape. Oh, okay. Let's go like that now. Okay. So that happened, right? Now, Howard Blum's come along and gone, oh, right, okay, well, oopsie. Yeah, okay, sorry. So he's gotten onto Twitter and he's gone, oh, well, he's started to backtrack. He's gone, well, Katherine Ramsland has issued a statement about my recent piece. She confirms that she reached out to BK's parents after arrest, and she refutes that BK emailed her while at WSU. I apologize for that error. I apologize for that error, people. He was doing it to impress Stacey. Hi, Mavka. How's it going? Okay, you apologize for that error. Well, that's fantastic, Howie. That's fantastic. But what led to this colossal backpedal, right? This. So here's Bryan Anton, and apparently Bryan Anton is on some sort of RV trip, like he's on a trip around the US or heading somewhere, like some sort of road trip, right? So that's why he's in his car. It's not because he's being weird, like I'm sure he's sometimes weird, but that's why he's in his car. Right, so let's watch what he has to say. Despite another report, Dr. Katherine Ramsland tells me she has not communicated with Bryan Kohberger since his arrest. All right, so let's have a look.
Hey guys, I hope everybody's doing well. I wanted to get on here and address something. It seems like as we get closer to the Bryan Kohberger trial, there's been more and more speculation and rumors and just bad facts in certain articles that are out there. And I wanted to talk about something in particular. There was an article that was published recently about Dr. Katherine Ramsland. And if you've been following, you know Dr. Ramsland is a professor at DeSales University in Pennsylvania. She was Bryan Kohberger's professor when he was getting his master's degree in criminology when he was in Pennsylvania before he went to Washington State University, where he was getting his PhD. And we've known that. And this article claims, among many things, that Dr. Ramsland has been in touch with Bryan Kohberger, even recently while he's in jail, and a bunch of other things too, that she's been close with the family, and it speculates.
Okay, so he wouldn't need to be sitting there in his car talking about this if he and News Nation, Ashley Banfield, the whole lot of them, hadn't had been barking up this tree in the first place, right? So they would not need to sit there backpedaling if they hadn't had taken that freaking article of goddamn Howard Blum's and pushed it out there on their platform, right? Right? Like, why did they even give it any oxygen in the first place? That's my question. Yeah. Is this legit? I didn't think any professor at BK would ever say anything. Right, half Irish, right? And this is where I'm getting to in a minute, okay? So, like, the whole thing is just so unbelievable. So, notice the fact that he bothered to go and put something out and make it look like, oh, I just want to make sure everyone's clear that it was him. It was him, this journalist, who wrote this thing and got it wrong. And Dr. Ramsland never did anything. And by association, therefore, we never did anything wrong, right? But hey, you're the ones who went and published an article that had no factual basis. None. Zero. Right? And you guys have a very big platform. News Nation is a very big platform. Facts-based. Right?
It's that that the motive could possibly be that Bryan Kohberger was trying to impress Dr. Ramsland. I know Dr. Ramsland. Okay, so I'm going to be totally upfront about that. I've gotten to know her over the last several years. I've interviewed her for stories. I've always found her to be a very, very credible, nice, honest person. And she has told me that she doesn't want to talk on the record about Bryan Kohberger. So she's told me all along until after the trial, because she might be a witness. She doesn't want to interfere with
her. Right. So something's coming out now. You know Dr. Ramsland, and you've spoken to her, and she's told you that she doesn't want to talk to you till after the trial. Really? So basically, you've been hounding her and saying to her, please, please talk to me about Bryan Kohberger, your former student. And she's like, no, I don't want to talk to you on the record, caveat, till after the trial. Right? Something's starting to smell a little bit fishy to you here now. I wonder what Dr. Ramsland's planning.
Here with the trial. She obviously knew Bryan Kohberger. She was his professor. So she is saying what is it, but she is now talking on the record about some of this to me, because she is saying that what is in this article is not true. And I'm going to read you what Dr. Ramsland texted me. I had no email correspondence with Bryan Kohberger while he was at WSU, Washington State University. So that's where he was getting his PhD. He has not been in touch with me since his arrest. It's a big point, because that's totally different than what was published. I called his parents as a gesture of kindness, but I do not advise them about the case. I did not call them hours after the arrest, as Blum claims. I have never talked to his sister about any book. I never mentioned Kierkegaard in my classes. I did not broker anything regarding a lawyer. I have not been invited by the Kohbergers to Idaho. I don't know where they'll be staying. I don't know who Blum's source is or why he reports information for which he has no proof.
Okay, just one moment. Just one moment, right? So this is a text message from Ramsland to Bryan Anton, right? He claims to know Ramsland very well. He's interviewed her over the years. And she is calling out Howard Blum, saying that he has he's reported these things and they're untrue. And Bryan Anton is saying very clearly that these things are not true. Why would he not have just gotten in contact with his friend, Dr. Ramsland or Professor Ramsland, right? And just asked her to whether or not these things that they're about to report on News Nation are true. That's basic journalistic work, right? You fact check before you report, right? She doesn't have to go on the record. Like, she didn't need to go on the record. She didn't need to get to this point where she had to correct it. All she had to do was, all he had to do was go, hey, have you seen this article by Howard Blum? We're about to report on it. It's got your name in it. Just letting you know. Before actually reporting it. Basic journalism. Like, I studied journalism in university for a couple of years and never went on to be a journalist. I learned that in like the first month. You fact check stuff.
Some of this stuff, if you're not following, you can go back and read the article and you'll know what she's talking about specifically. So again, I know Dr. Ramsland. I have no reason not to believe her.
Oh, really?
And I don't think she's lying, and so I don't think the article is correct. And I just wanted to put that out there. And I think I want to.
Now you don't think the article is correct.
So I hope everybody's doing well. I'm actually going to Boise tomorrow. Nothing to do with the Bryan Kohberger trial, for a different story. I'm going to be doing a shoot in Boise, and then I'm actually driving from Boise to Portland, right across the state of Washington, for this story that I'm working on. But I'll obviously be there for the full Bryan Kohberger trial. And
oh, wonderful.
Yeah, so that's sort of the latest. Hopefully that clears it up, because a lot of you guys were messaging me about this latest article about Dr. Ramsland, about that possible motive. Hopefully that clears it up. All right, bye.
No, that doesn't clear it up at all. That actually gives me more questions about you and her, to be honest. Okay, so, but how does Bryan Anton really know Ramsland? Right? So I had a bit of a think about that, because he says he knows her, he's asked her questions, like he's interviewed her before. I was like, all right, so who is this woman? Yeah, so just have a little bit of a look at this.
I was at CrimeCon today. I'm actually technically still here because I'm in a mobile studio out in the parking lot.
This is 2023, by the way.
Run back inside and hang out with everybody when the show's over. I'd never been to CrimeCon before. It sounds kind of weird, CrimeCon, but it's actually like really serious. A lot of victim advocates come together, crime experts, victims' family members. They come together for this conference every year. I've really learned a lot already. And if you are a fan of this show, Banfield, you've probably seen Dr. Katherine Ramsland on the show before. She's a serial killer expert.
Yeah.
We have all sorts of people on the show, but I've always just been fascinated by Dr. Ramsland because she studies serial killers. I've wanted to know, like, what is Dr. Ramsland really like? What would she be like to meet in person? Because we've only interviewed each other through the screen. So I was determined to find her. I found out she was at the crime conference today. Like, I was literally almost like a stalker going up and down the halls trying to talk to her. I finally tracked her down. I want you to hear our conversation.
Oh, yes, let's.
So I'm here with Dr. Katherine Ramsland, a serial killer expert. I basically had to stalk you to find you because I'm such a big fan.
He had to stalk her.
Dr. Ramsland at this crime
Bad choice of words.
How's it been so far? You gave a speech today. I mean, a lot of people are very interested in your research. How's it going so far at CrimeCon?
This is my third CrimeCon. I was on a panel today, and great audience, large audience. They had a lot of good questions, and we were really able to talk about why do we study these people in a way that will help us to prevent future serial killers. And that's probably the most important part of the kind of work we do.
So you're always talking about other cases, but what I thought was interesting was you opened up today about your own personal story of why perhaps you're so interested in all of this, something family related.
So I was asked the question, how did I get into it? I talked about during my childhood, there was a serial killer in my town, but also I have stuff in my background that's got violence associated with it. My father's mother was murdered. I never knew her. She was, and my great grandfather on the other side of the family tried to poison everybody so he could run off with someone else, and that didn't work. But there's certainly violence in the background that's kind of trickled down to me.
Tried to poison the whole family?
Tried to poison the whole family. Yeah.
Oh.
Have you ever looked into that since you're interested in
There's
crime?
it's family secrets. It's hard to penetrate walls. I have that much information, but I didn't get to find out much more.
So interesting. Do you think that did influence you into doing the work you do?
I think it influenced me because one of the things when we'd go on family trips, my father would sing songs about dying and death and getting shot and gunslingers and stuff. So,
Wow.
So it influenced him because I believe he found his mother murdered. So it influenced him, but I think it kind of came through him to me without
Okay.
my realizing that was the...
Righto. So let's just be really clear about what CrimeCon is. Maybe it would be easier if I were to show you her Amazon collection. This is Dr. Ramsland's collection of books for sale. The Ivy League Killer, Katherine Ramsland, Darkest Waters box set. Confession of a Serial Killer, The Untold Story of Dennis Rader, the BTK Killer. How to Catch a Killer, hunting and capturing the world's most notorious serial killers. The Serial Killer's Apprentice, Dead-Handed, The Nutcracker Investigations, In the Damage Path, The Nutcracker Investigations, Ice Cream Man, The Nutcracker Investigations. And there's more. Cemetery Stories, Haunted Graveyards, Sonny Says, Horse Sense, Spree Killers, The Vampire Trap, Crimescape, and there's more. Yeah, half Irish. So, yeah, I wasn't expecting this many either. See all. Wow, 78 titles. Remember how Bryan Anton said that Katherine Ramsland didn't want to speak to him on the record until after the trial? I'm sus on this lady. I'm really sus. But, well, I guess everything's just fine then, hey?
When it comes to getting a murder conviction, motives are like bodies. Very helpful to a case, but not mandatory. Prosecutors convict murder suspects all the time without knowing why the killer did it. And for more than 2 years now, it has looked like the quadruple murders at the University of Idaho may be another case in point. For all the evidence that we've seen in court papers so far, evidence that points to a suspect with the means and the opportunity to commit this horrendous crime, we see next to nothing about a motive.
No, we don't.
An alleged reason as to why Bryan Kohberger, who's charged with this, would want those 4 innocent kids dead in such a violent and bloody way.
No, he didn't
But
know
now,
them.
with Kohberger's trial just 3 months away, there is one reporter who says he thinks he knows what prosecutors are planning to present in the way of motive. His name is Howard Blum, and his article appears in an online newsletter called Airmail. In it, Blum suggests that prosecutors think Kohberger went to monstrous and unthinkable extremes to impress a woman. And not just any woman, a woman you have seen on this program many times.
Yeah. So here's the problem, right? Here's the problem. They did that without checking. Yeah. They put that story out without checking. And no amount of correcting themselves, Bryan Anton getting in his car and going, oh, look, this is what happened, right? Putting out a little 2-minute piece or 1-minute piece saying, oh, well, Katherine Ramsland has contacted and said, well, no, she has no knowledge of any of this stuff, right? No amount of that, or no amount of Howard Blum getting on his Twitter and saying, well, I apologize for that error, lie. No amount of any of that is going to take back that. It's actually a 6-minute video, what I just started playing. That 6-minute video, which is out there on News Nation, talking about how there is a motive now, and a journalist has found his motive about him wanting to impress a woman, but not just any woman, a woman you know very well from our interviews with her on this channel, right? Now, Heavenly Stars on X has an interesting theory and has pointed this out in this tweet here. So this is a statement to Bryan from Katherine Ramsland. I wonder who knows who was speaking to Bryan's parents in the first place and who was giving out this information. One of Bryan's parents had to tell someone about talking to Ramsland. Now, this bit here, she said, I called his parents as a gesture of kindness, but I do not advise them about the case. So she called his parents. What, just after his arrest? So I had no email correspondence with Bryan Kohberger while he was at WSU. So that was when he had gone over to Washington and he was at Washington State University. So he has not been in touch with me since his arrest. Okay. I called his parents as a gesture of kindness, but I did not advise them about the case. I did not call them hours after the arrest, as Blum claims. I have never talked to his sister about any book. Right. So what's she doing talking to his parents? What's she doing talking to his parents? He's already across the country. He's left. He's not her student anymore. Right? So if she's not teaching him anymore, if she's not got contact with him anymore, she finds out that he's been arrested in this terrible crime. What's she doing contacting his parents? At all? What's this gesture of kindness? What's that all about? Right? So I just have a lot of questions about her motives. And this lady here, I'll just go to her ex. Heavenly Stars. I've got to give it to her because she got me thinking. She got me thinking because then there is this, and people are definitely talking about Ramsland now. Barnum once said there's no such thing as bad publicity, which is almost as good as Oscar Wilde's version, who put it like this: there's only one thing in the world worse than being talked about, and that is not being talked about. Both men could turn a phrase, and both men had a point, right? And this would be adequate if Ramsland actually did feel that Bryan was guilty and was planning to write a book about him. Face it, people would buy her book to see what she has to say, regardless of whether she planned it ahead of time and was befriending the family of Kohberger. The attention from reporting of it most likely would increase her sales from a book. Yep, 100%, right? So you saw how many books she's got, right? She's she taught Bryan Kohberger. She's in contact with a big platform like News Nation. She is used to the whole scene. She goes to CrimeCon every year, it seems, right? She knows how to market these books. And isn't it interesting that Howard Blum happens to mention her now and spout some false information about her, and she has an opportunity to go and correct it very publicly. Now, I'm not saying that her and Howard Blum are colluding, but it's kind of convenient, don't you think? It's kind of convenient that she manages to get her name out there. Now we're only a couple of months out from trial, and her name is associated with Bryan Kohberger's very publicly. I guarantee you, well, I shouldn't say that. I'd like to bet anybody $100, $1,000 she's got a book ready to go. Like the second there's a guilty verdict, book ready. Sales funnels ready. And I'm sure she's not the only one. I'm sure there's lots of people who are ready with books, right? But hers will be, let's say, it will have an air of authenticity about it. People will see it as having more credibility to it because she's the one who pushed back against Blum, right? Blum has always been, especially in terms of the people who believe that Kohberger is innocent till proven guilty, right? People have had a big problem with Blum. They see him as a fiction writer. So she pushed back against him and said, no, that's not true. That's not founded in any truth. So she came out and publicly stated, no, none of that's true. So I'm the doctor, the professor. I have my ethics. I'm not going to speak on this, not until after trial. After trial, hey? Well, we'll see. We'll see what you got planned, Dr. Ramsland. Yeah. I have a really big feeling that she's planning something too. There's a bit of a Becky Hill thing going on here in the background. I'm not seeing Bryan being infatuated with her though. She's 72 years old. For fuck's sake, don't women expire at like 28? Okay, so I don't like that insinuation that Banfield was making either. Like, yeah, that he wanted to impress a woman. I don't even think that was what Blum was getting at, right? I don't even think that was where he was going. Like, it wasn't like a sexual thing. I think he was trying to say that he wanted to impress his old lecturer, which is a ridiculous notion, to impress his old lecturer with carrying out a crime. But I don't think it was like because he had the hots for her. I don't think that was ever what Blum was getting at. But Banfield went and turned it into this innuendo of he did it to impress a woman and not just any woman. Please. She survived Bryan. Bet she's got a screenplay ready too. Yeah. It's so silly. So silly. Let's just be completely clear about this, right? There is no motive. There is, if there were any connection between him and these people, then a motive might be able to be established. But there's no connection, right? All the potential connections have been debunked, right? So there was always talk of him supposedly stalking them or having them on his Instagram or going around the house and things like that. All that stuff's been thrown out, right? And the prosecution has had to, in court over the last couple of years, they've had to go back on that stuff because it's just not true, right? Unfortunately, that's one of the things that the father of Kaylee had been going around saying, that he was stalking them. No. There was talk of that in the PCA. It's been debunked. So no, there was no stalking. There was no contact. That he doesn't know them. He just doesn't know them. So people may question, how does an object with his DNA on it end up in a house full of people that he doesn't know? Well, don't know, but pretty sure that I've picked things up that have ended up places that I've never been. But don't know. That's up to the defense to explain that, I suppose. But I couldn't convict somebody based just on that. There's too much else. Too much else. Regarding the other roommates, there's a lot of talk right now about the roommates and their potential culpability, their actions, that the fact that they were texting, deleting photos, doing all sorts of questionable kind of things around the period of 2 a.m. all the way through till the 911 call. And I just feel like all of this stuff is not going to help Bryan at trial. I just don't think that there's going to be anything that can help him by cross-examining these people at length to make them look like they've done anything wrong. It's just going to look really bad for him. The jury's just going to feel a lot of sympathy for them. I think that his defense has just got to be doubt, reasonable doubt. There's just got to be, there's no cell data. The cell data shows him going the other way. There's no connection between him and the people. There's nothing of him in the house. There's nothing of them in his apartment. All the reasons why it just doesn't add up that he could have been the one to do it. Not that there's somebody else, but that he isn't the one. That's it. So putting the finger at somebody else is dangerous territory, because then the jury has to work out how the other people are involved and figure that out in their mind. And that's harder than working out why somebody else isn't involved. A jury would convict a potato if a prosecutor says so. Yeah, absolutely. And if you start confusing them with why Dylan is involved in this, I reckon he's toast. I think he's toast anyway. But yeah, they could have saved Xana, who they heard call for help, and DM saw her dying and ran downstairs. Yeah, well, look, nothing can be done about that now. You know, I don't like what happened either. I don't know what happened, but I don't like the sound of what happened either. But I don't think that it's going to do Bryan any good. I think it's going to do Bryan any good at all to bark up that tree. Let their testimony be what it is. Their testimony will show that that things weren't as they seemed. It'll bring up questions for the jury, but if they go too far with cross-examining these witnesses, the defense is just going to look heartless, and they're also going to look like they're just going to confuse the issue. Reasonable doubt. It's all going to be about reasonable doubt. And there's so much of it. There's so much reasonable doubt. Stick with that. Just stick with it. That's my perspective. I've seen too many trials where the defense tries to create a narrative around somebody else and the jury just goes, no, too hard. Too hard. Hey, DB, how are you? So another RA, then I've not followed BK at all. I think so. I think he's innocent. I don't think he did it. I don't think it's possible. The timeline they've got for it, for one person to do it in like less than 10 minutes, and for him to have no forensic evidence of those people on his body, in his house, in his car, nothing. He was traveling in a different direction. His cell phone was not anywhere near that area. They try to say that his phone was turned off. No evidence of that. It was in a no coverage area. It was heading towards a no coverage area when it last stopped reporting to the network. What they've got, supposedly his car driving around, is just a white car. They have no identification of the car at all. What easier way to try and pin down a suspect vehicle than to go, oh, a white car? How many white sedans are there? It's just like a white blob on lots of CCTV cameras. So yeah, they've got a knife sheath that has some skin cells on it, and that's it. And then they have a bunch of other DNA profiles in that house, and blood DNA that was never identified or investigated. Male blood DNA, unidentified. Yet he's the one sitting in the defendant's chair facing the death penalty. That makes no sense. He doesn't know them. Doesn't know these people from a bar of soap. So I don't believe it. It doesn't make any sense to me. When somebody has no connection whatsoever to the victims, it's like, and no criminal history, absolutely none. All they've got is just some transfer DNA, right? Transfer DNA. And the more you look into transfer DNA, the more scary it is, because we leave it everywhere. We leave it everywhere we go. All he had to do was be like in a shop and touching one of these objects and then leave it and then walk away and someone else buy it and then go stab these people. That's it. So that's all they have of him. That's it. That's all they have. Everything else is made up. And yeah, the judge called Cyree a conspiracy theorist. My God. Wait till he sees Cyree testify. Cyree is the most amazing expert witness. I have watched him testify for the state, because he's only ever testified for the state. He's a state expert witness. He blows away any other cell site expert you've ever seen. He knows his stuff. It's incredible and actually scary to see how he can track a cell phone. He can track a person with a cell phone down to this space and then like match that up with CCTV from the area or anything like that. Like he can tell you where you were at any point in time in the last however many years, and then how long it took you to get from here to there, and then who you met up with, and then what you had for dinner, and then what you decided to search for breakfast the next day, and then what you watched on TV, and then what apps you signed into and what you said on those apps. He's just like, he's scary. You don't want to, like, I feel sorry for his teenagers if he ever has any. Wow. So if he says that the evidence that he sees of where Bryan was that night is exculpatory to him, I tend to think it was. He ain't a conspiracy theorist. He works for the state. And so, yeah, it just goes to show you, I just feel like this judge is a long way out of touch. Yeah. Hey, Tracy. All right, guys. I'm just gonna just a moment. I'm going to send you all somewhere for fun. Do you want to go to a Katherine Rams stream or not? Tell me. Tell me. You can say no. Cyril did explain the 7 days. The FBI uses Boyd Jackson at AT&T for timing advance. They aren't bound by 7 days. He saw records of BJ. Oh. Boyd Jackson being involved and knows they went through the FBI. See, you're correct, V. So basically in 2022, that was not where the FBI got timing advance records from. So you could absolutely get timing advance records before June 2023 outside of the 7-day window. You just didn't go through that AT&T portal that people go through now, which I can't remember what it's called. But you went through the one that Boyd Jackson is in charge of. So, and I know this because I've seen Cyril testify, and he has timing advance records, not just Cyril, but Nick Balance as well. I've seen them testify with timing advance records from people who couldn't have possibly been found within 7 days, right? They wouldn't have been known to the state within 7 days. So, and that's prior to 2022. So it's absolutely possible. Of course it is. Like, if timing advance records exist, and they're held at all, do you think that the FBI can't get hold of them? Of course they can. It's ridiculous. Okay, so do you want to go to a Katherine Rams stream, or do you want to go to a Chili De Castro stream? Oh dear. Nah, you're going over to Sean. Say hi to Sean for me. Say hello, Raid, over at Sean's. That'd be nice. Yeah, and it's only AT&T that's 7 days. You're correct. It is only AT&T, but we're talking about the AT&T records because it's that Gordon fella who is in charge of was in charge of the 7 days. Chili's scared of vacuum cleaners. Yeah. They had a preservation order on all for the period of the crime. But you still need to know who it is that you're subpoenaing for, right? And if you don't know who the person is or the phone number is, then you can't do a preservation order, right? So the information exists. It's just whether or not you can get it through that channel, right? But back in 2022, they didn't go through the same channel that they go through in 2023 from June onwards, right? They went through the channel that Boyd Jackson is in charge of. So it's just, to Ray, it's just not a thing. Like, he knows that's not how the FBI got those records in 2022. It just wasn't the way it worked. And he did explain it in the affidavit, but the judge didn't understand his explanation or give it credence. He's still waiting for his printer. Oh, I'll tell you why she backed off. I'll tell you exactly why she backed off. Because she wants to confront this at trial. She doesn't want to sort this out prior. She wants to confront this at trial. You know what happens when discovery becomes available at trial rather than before trial? Discovery violation at trial is far more egregious than prior to trial, and she's given them every opportunity to come forward with this information. She's asked for it. She's motioned to compel several supplemental requests for discovery. She's asked for it in open court. She's had her expert witness ask for it, come in to testify. Now this is affidavit. And now we're at a point where the judge has gone, well, you can ask for it of Nick Balance. You can do a voir dire of him for it. So we're going to get all the way up to trial now, and then that discovery is going to be out in the open. Well, we're talking massive Brady violation then if it happens at trial, right? Potentially. So judge just walked into that rather than it be able to be brought out in the open 3 months prior and potentially sorted out. Judge just said, okay, sure, you can sort it out at trial. Well, judge, you just opened the door for that all to come out while the jury's sitting in the back room and everything's all happening. And what are the prongs of a Brady violation? Well, that the evidence was hidden, they knew about it, and that it's potentially exculpatory and with malice. That's just off the top of my head. I think those are the three. Pretty obvious. Yeah, she has proof. She's not bluffing. So I wouldn't have done the affidavit if they couldn't back it. And those words in that affidavit, they're very strong for a reason, right? He went and said that it was theatrics. Judge said it was theatrics, right? But they're there because you can make no mistake about what he's saying. No mistake. And so if judge wants to ignore it and call it a conspiracy theory, that's just fine, right? But he's gone and put it all off now till trial. And Ann Taylor was like, okay, well, hey, judge, that's fine. I'll do what you say, and I'll question Nick Balance on voir dire. So that means that all this stuff's going to come out very, very late. Thanks to you, Judge. Yeah. Hitler's orders are fucking theatrics. Yep. That's just how I see it. And I was talking to Mercy Wright just a week or so ago, and she brought up an interesting point. She said that unfortunately, Anne has dropped the ball a little bit in that she should have requested or taken the judge's offer of help, like the judge offered for her to have assistance with the discovery because there's so much discovery, and she's basically said, well, she has said she's put forth a motion to strike the death penalty because they're overloaded with discovery, and that in itself is a violation because they can't physically get through the discovery. And judge said, well, why don't you like go to the money judge basically and get more paralegals to help you get through it? And she didn't take it. And that sort of puts her in a situation where she sort of opens herself up to looking like she didn't take the resources that could have been made available to her. So therefore, has she let the case down? Has she let her defendant down? And if she did, then could she have been more on the ball, and therefore there's a case for ineffective assistance of counsel? But I spoke to Mercy and I was like, well, does that mean that anything that sort of happens in relation to the timing advance records, like if it comes out that they have been withheld, because apparently she should have put in a TUI request. Right, she should have, when she found out that they're being withheld on TUI grounds, she should have been putting in a TUI request. If she hasn't been asking the right way over and over again for these timing advance records, and they do come out at trial, does that mean that there can't be any repercussions for the state? And Mercy said, no, that's not the case. That there would still be repercussions for the state, but she has dropped the ball a bit when it comes to this stuff with the resources. So it's interesting. I'm firmly on Anne's side. I think she's done a great job, but it's a hard one. It's a hard one. The failure to use judge remedy will likely not be a discovery issue regarding breadth of info. No. CT Girl, with that hearing yesterday, I actually think it's just that hearing that was put off from a few weeks ago. So the jury instructions one, I don't think it's anything much. Because remember the one that was postponed, that was just jury instructions. That was going to be closed hearing anyway, and it was postponed. So I dare say that's all it is. Madka, what are you doing? Stop it, please. Hey, Richard Plunkett, how are you? Calling names when you don't have any other comeback. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right, Richard. We don't do that. Okay, we're ending now. Enough. We play nice, guys. You've been timed out once today, Mavcar. All right, time for the song. We're going to Sean. Say hello.
And she dances sometimes. The words are always so loud, and because she's an 803 to be said.